A family in Miami just got hit with a $40,000 surprise bill, and they didn't do anything wrong. They just owned a condo. Meanwhile, Miami's cost of living sits over 20% above the national average, but the state doesn't take a single dollar from your paycheck in income tax. So is Miami actually affordable, or is it a trap dressed up in palm trees? Let's break down the real numbers. Welcome back to Property Wise, the channel where we break down real numbers on real estate and relocation across the U.S. Last time, we covered Austin. Today, we're heading to Miami, Florida. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly what it costs to live here, and the one hidden expense that catches almost every newcomer off guard. Let's start with rent, because in Miami, the number you see depends entirely on which source you're looking at, and that's confusing on purpose. Not really, but it feels that way. Here's the honest range. A one-bedroom apartment in a popular area like Brickell or downtown runs anywhere from $2,300 to $2,800 a month. In flashier spots like South Beach, you can see $3,000 to $5,000 for the same size unit. But, and this is important, Miami is a city of neighborhoods with wildly different price tags. Move to areas like Hialeah, Little Havana, or Flagami, and that same one-bedroom drops to $1,500 to $2,200 a month. Same city, completely different budget. The general rule locals use: every mile you move away from the water and downtown, your rent drops noticeably. If budget is your top priority, that's your lever. If you're thinking about buying instead of renting, here's where it stands. The median home price across Miami-Dade County is sitting around $570,000. Though that number swings hard by neighborhood. A condo can start closer to $425,000, while a single-family home in Coral Gables or South Miami can run well past $1 million. Property tax itself isn't the scary part. It's roughly 1% of the assessed value. So on a $570,000 home, you're looking at about $5,700 to $6,600 a year. Reasonable, right? Here's where it gets complicated. Because in Miami, property tax was never the main issue. The real issue is what's coming next. This is the section that separates people who research Miami properly from people who get blindsided. First, home insurance. In Florida, average home insurance runs about $4,200 a year, and that's before flood insurance, which is a separate, additional cost if you're anywhere near a flood zone. Insurance costs here have roughly doubled over the last 5 years, and several major insurers have actually pulled out of the state entirely, which pushes remaining premiums even higher. Now here's the part almost nobody warns newcomers about: HOA fees on condos. A typical HOA fee in a Miami condo building runs $1,200 to $2,400 a month. Yes, a month, on top of your mortgage or rent. But the real shock happened after the Surfside condo collapse a few years back. New inspection laws now require older buildings to prove their structural safety, and fixing those issues costs enormous amounts of money. When a building can't cover it through reserves, they issue what's called a special assessment, and owners have been hit with unexpected bills running into the tens of thousands of dollars, sometimes overnight. This is the single biggest thing to research before buying a condo in Miami. Ask directly about the building's reserve fund status and any pending or recent special assessments. Skipping this question is how people end up with a $40,000 surprise. Beyond housing, here's what daily life actually costs. Groceries run roughly 9% higher than the national average. Not dramatic, but it adds up. Car insurance, on the other hand, is where Miami really stands out. It's among the highest in the entire country, largely because of the accident rates and the sheer density of drivers. And Miami is car-dependent. Unlike a city with strong public transit, most residents need a car to get around comfortably, which means you're budgeting for insurance, parking, and gas as fixed monthly costs, not optional ones. One more line item people forget: hurricane season. Locals recommend keeping a dedicated fund of $1,000 to $2,000 set aside every year for storm supplies, potential evacuation costs, and insurance deductibles. It's not optional in South Florida. It's part of the cost of living here, the same way snow tires are part of living somewhere cold. So let's put it all together. For a single person to live comfortably in Miami, decent apartment, groceries, a car, and some room to enjoy the city, you're realistically looking at $65,000 to $90,000 a year, depending on the neighborhood. For a family of four, that number jumps to $115,000 to $130,000 or more, mainly driven by housing and insurance costs. Here's the twist, though. Miami's median household income sits around $62,500 to $68,000, meaningfully below what a family actually needs to live comfortably here. That gap is real, and it's why so many long-term Miami residents either have dual incomes, live further from the core, or work in high-paying sectors like finance, tech, or international business, where Miami wages run well above the city average. And remember, no state income tax. Someone earning $100,000 here keeps noticeably more of their paycheck than the same salary in a high-tax state. That's a real, permanent advantage that partially offsets the higher cost of everything else. So, is Miami worth it in 2026? If you're moving from New York or a similarly expensive coastal city, yes, Miami is genuinely cheaper on housing, and you gain the no income tax advantage on top of it. If you're moving from a lower cost of living state expecting an easy transition, go in with your eyes open. Insurance, HOA fees, and car costs will surprise you if you don't plan for them ahead of time. The people who do well in Miami are the ones who research the building, the insurance market, and the neighborhood before signing anything, not after. If this helped you plan your move, hit subscribe. Every week on PropertyWise, we're breaking down a new U.S. city, so you walk in with real numbers instead of guesswork. Which city should we cover next? Drop it in the comments. I read every one. See you in the next video.